What I'm making is I am building software for planning. Uh, this is my planning app. And today I am, good morning, Doctor. Today I am trying to figure out how uh, how to understand my Saga problem from last week, where the design of the software was just not doing what I needed to do. I'm about to share once I get my YouTube stream up and running. If that happens, oh, there we go, it's up. Okay, the YouTube stream should be up. Okay, do I dare? Do I dare press go live on the vertical form? I'm slowly self-learning C# by making small games with nothing but the .NET SDK. Nice, nice. Yeah, it's funny as you come into C64. Yesterday they put the pre-orders up for the C64 Black Mini, C64 Mini Black, whatever the name is. It's got a new set of games on and whatever, and I pre-ordered that. Amazon. Black Edition. Yeah. This one. As a well, they are reviving the CC4. I know that. But they're also releasing that. I suppose they now get some naming rights from that as well. So, but that looks fun. I know that's not the thing I will consider uh, um, the full new C64. But anyway, before we get onto Mediator Sagas, I do want to show over the last couple of, I did the UI experiment. You know what? I'm gonna try. What happens if I do that? Does everything break? Does the world go to? Do I get two streams? Does it take over? I think it takes over. No, it doesn't. It's fine. Yeah. It is what it is. Okay. Um, Sorry, as long as the main YouTube stream is in full wide format, I'm happy. Um, on last week, I did the the UI experiment, and I said, "Hey, can UX Pilot help me build a UI?" Right. So UX Pilot built me this, right, and I got all this stuff done, and everything was awesome, and that was great. I implemented that, and I used Claude Code to into blah, 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 blah. I used Claude Code to implement this, right? And I am very happy that this is the direction I want to head in for my game library, right? So being able to bring up the games. This isn't working because this is currently actually hooked up to the API. And I can log in, and I've got that working, and yeah, it's getting there. I was just working on the back end of that to get the APIs up and running. But I do want to share, this was the actual outcome of using that. So I used Claude to help me with React. So this is a React app. It's yeah. I'm starting to find how AI fits in my journey, right? And what I'm realizing is it fits in as the the it rounds me. I am able to do things with the AI tools that I can't do normally, that I'm not very talented at normally. So I can concentrate on the things that I enjoy and the things that I do and get more time with them because I can save that time while doing this, right? I'm able to learn what I need to learn when I need to learn it. I'm able to have it do stuff and then review it, and I'm able to grow that way. So I'm growing more as a front end developer by not getting stuck. Because you've seen enough. If you've seen enough of this stream, you know that if I get onto the UI side of things, things get slow really quick because I just don't have any passion there. I don't have any energy. So combining UX Pilot with Claude and you know on there has allowed me to fill those gaps and truly be a more productive dev. I still understand what this is doing. I've still written. I wrote the code. I use the code with a combination of multiple things to understand the login and stuff. It's not like I'm never going to write code in here. Yeah, so I can guide to design the software the way that I want to design the software still, but it's figuring out what it means to me to be productive with these tools. I feel that this has helped me be more productive, where I can't get someone to come and do this for me, right? I don't have a UI UX expert on hand. You know, not that this is a UI UX expert's dream playground, but it is allowing me to be productive. So I'm not bothered by retrographics, so I'm saying yeah, language in the stream is tended to stay on the other side, but yeah, as you can tell by my name, I'm not bothered by retrographics, so I'm saying to a graphics library. So I'm just making an ASCII clicker game right now. Yeah, yeah, just a general thing. Some people figure out how to get around it, but I just generally try to avoid it, mainly so I don't start swearing. It's too early to be focused on my language. So, so yeah, this I wanted to show this. This is going well. I'm about to get the API hooked up into this. I've been working on the back end to kind of tidy that up, and hook real data up to it and see where that goes. People will figure things out. So, did you grow up with a C64? Or are you a later finder of it? Close project. Liquid Sky. Dun, 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 dun. Let's do this. Gotcha. Yeah. Melanith would be proud. I figured out how to get Docker Compose to run multiple things. So I can finally figure out how to move my scripts that I used the PowerShell script for. Yeah. Well, I did grow up with the Commodore 64, so it was. I actually had a VIC 20 with a tape drive and cartridges before, and I never actually owned a C64. So yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's get back to Liquid Sky. So, like I said, I went to implement this last week and realized that, there's some situations where this won't work. And I need to be able to basically say, hey, begin the saga on entry. Otherwise, I'm just kind of creating events. And that was my concern, right? I'm going to create events for the sake of creating events. And that's not healthy, because I will end up trying to fit a system in that doesn't feel right, and that always goes wrong, because later on when I hit another use case, I'm going to want to adapt that use case, and yeah, it's a problem. So yeah. Also, it shocked me how much less annoying using only .NET SDK is than using Unity, considering I knew nothing about C# other than styling going into this law. Yeah. C# is easy to learn. The general structure is I don't think very difficult. It's when I first read a C++ book, it said C++ is a small language. C++ is better, is expanded through its libraries. I never understood what that meant until I actually, started really getting to C#. And then it made sense that the actual language is not the difficult part. It's understanding all the frameworks and libraries around it that help you do things. That's where the actual learning comes from. The language is is just the glue. So, yeah. Now, are you a developer normally, or is like you're learning C# purely to achieve your goal of writing like the console game and stuff? Do have the change? And let's finish. So I need to basically trigger like on multiple events. But we also had a problem in that it actually didn't work because it actually broke the source generator, because this namespace wasn't included, which is a problem. But it includes it in the dev instance. So first order of business is figure out that piece. So we're going to learn a little bit about source generators. If you've not looked at source generation before, it is what it sounds like. It is creating code, using code to help, and how it helps is it allows you to be a little bit more dynamic about things. You can actually fill some gaps. What am I talking about? Think. It allows you to, if you've got boilerplate code or cookie cutter code, it does allow you to fill out those things. So in this case, the sagas, the handlers are kind of the linking between the behavior coming from mediator and my actual code. These are going to be the same thing every single time. Why bother writing them when I can make when I can make a class automatically when I create a type of thing. So the issue here is this is not right. I need to get handler name, notification name. I need to get this. So if you see the generated event is sample saga change activity received handler, right? So the actual event is change activity received. So I need the namespace of that. Handler name, handlers. What am I doing? Notification name. So let's do var notification namespace equals model dot get declared symbol. That's a syntax declaration node. Is that a thing? No. Actually, let's try. Identifier. Okay, there's nothing obvious there. Morning, Stony Eagle. Wow. Morning, Stony. I'm awake. I promise I'm awake. Yeah. So handle a namespace. I need to get from this. Let's see. Let's see if Copilot can help me here. Add context. When I'm including namespaces, I need to include not only the namespace of the handler. Actually, I don't need to include the namespace of the handler. The handler is its namespace declaration is there. So what's that one? Namespace declaration. Hold on. Saga class declarations, Saga handlers, handler identifiers. Get the declaration, select the type where it's generic name, then where it's not Saga, but it is handler, and it's got one argument, and that is an identifying name syntax. Get that generic name, and then where it does have an ID, so that it does pull the right thing, or where it, we get that. So that this is reflecting over, or at design time, reflecting over the code, the AST, as I understand it, to pull apart, what's being done. Then we loop through those candidates, and we build the actual template out. We get the model of that Saga, so that we can pull data from it. And we go through the handlers, because it might have handle 3 different events, so each one of these is going to be a handler. So notification name is fine. because that gets put into the template here. That's notification there, right? Saga, class name, etc. I'm autism. How you doing? Oh, you know what? It helps if I blah, 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 blah. Half an hour, it's fine, right? Called Stream Fella. Welcome in. Okay. Please correct me if I'm wrong. When I'm including namespaces, I need to include not only the namespace handler, but the namespace of the event being handled. Notification name. I think it's the name. I'm making a web app. I should load up a local DB, right? And then after all that works, I deploy it. I mean, yeah, if you need a local database, there's a variety of options available to you. So DB changes from the local to a cloud hosted one, right? Yes, it can do. Some people work around that in different ways. Like, if you go into cloud though, if you go into Azure or AWS, then using their databases is probably the advised path. Developing locally. If you're developing to the cloud, both AWS and Azure have good local CLI pieces, and for AWS, local stack is free for several of the small pieces like DynamoDB and stuff. Just a minor project. Yeah. Yeah. Working locally does give you, like for me, I use Docker. Services up. Right. I use Docker. This will bring up all my services. So I have Docker Compose to bring up Mongo, SQL Server, Kafka. All these things are brought up by those scripts. Also, just start that one in. Yeah, and Postgre, there's good cloud options for Postgre that are free as well. So you don't even have to have your Postgre server hosted inside the cloud. You can have it as another SaaS product. Outside, there's a few good ones. I'd recommend it, yeah. Although again, there are Postgre. I did this recently. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out Postgres, Postgre, whatever you want to say. Postgres. No worries, no worries. But I use not PG clusters. So if you're just building something locally and you want to just have a database available to you, there are some cloud providers that will give you that. I'm just trying to figure out which one I used recently. Neon was one, I think. I think it had a dev and a Oh, nice. That's clever. Yeah, so there you go. So for developers that stream, I was experimenting with this for production. So basically, you can set up a project, and then you can have a development and a production branch, and you get different connection strings. So you can actually do all your development against uh, your it's suspended because it's past a week, but you can do all your development based upon this one. And hey, Dr. Cox, by the way. And then when you go to production, you just promote your stuff to production, and yeah, so they give you less resource, but it's usable. So neon dot tech is this one. So and it's free tier, so you don't have to do anything. What about Vercel? I haven't used Vercel. I mean, when I think of Vercel, I think of um, React and Next and stuff. So, um, but yeah, if it was just a little project that you're just experimenting with, then you could do it this way. Then you don't have to have your Postgres server hosted locally. You can just communicate with your development cloud version, and when you go to production and deploy it, you just point it at your production version. There you go. So that's another option for you. Okay. Contains the name of the notification. I also need to include the namespace of the let's see. I don't stand credits, will they start charging me after some time? You don't sign up with a credit card there, so I just they'd stop the service if you exceed it. So well, I don't think the development service has as much. So if you're just tinkering with stuff, fine. If you're doing a lot of database, it's like if you're trying to pull a list of, stars in the sky and record them and catalog them, host a local database, because every free tier you're going to blow through, right? So based upon the amount of data you're using, put the effort where it needs to be. If you're just storing a small to-do app, or you're storing little bits of data, yeah. And somehow my encodes of Darkwing Duck got stretched to 50-9. That's quite the ratio. Okay, so what that suggestion, get the notifications namespace. So that's the same. So get symbol, right, and then we can just do right. Why do I want to create a list, add to a list, when I can just do this syntax? Come on. So that's how. So get symbol info from the syntax. Okay. Let's see if that works any better. Again, using the AI tools to accelerate me there. Like, I could go off and Google that and try and figure it out. But one of the benefits of this is that you can kind of put things into your own words, and it will, gather enough from what you're talking about, especially being that I gave it this context to help me. So, it's no different than searching Google. It's just a more efficient way of searching Google, right? This information is still coming from other sources. But yeah, I'm really, I think that's where that's saving me time, a lot of time. I don't think it's the coding that's actually helping me go faster. Okay, so now the source generator. Actually, let's clean this project because cleaning will remove the source gen, and then I'll build them. So I don't understand anything. It's awesome seeing the journey of AI for yourself on stream. Nice. That's not an uncommon feeling of autism. You're not alone. Whenever we try to do something that's, something beyond what we've normally done, it can get confusing. It can get difficult. You just got to kind of do the reading, look at what you're doing, and yeah, you're more than welcome to ask questions. I'm not going to walk you through everything, but you can definitely ask questions. Okay, so here we go. So does this now contain 2 namespaces? It does. There we go. I hate that that's that way though. That's gotta get that's gotta get cleaned. Where are you? Generators. Oh, I don't get a say in it. Well, that's not good. It pads everything out. I don't do that though. Oh well. Well, my much goes over my head too. Don't worry. Why do people use PostgreSQL over MySQL? A few different features that people get more out of. Some belief that, or there is some belief that there's some performance difference, but yeah, there are some things built into Postgre that MySQL just does not have. So another option you have is looking at SQLite. If you're just doing a simple database, you could use SQLite and just stay with a little database. Stony builds quite an application around SQLite, quite effectively, yeah. MongoDB, yeah. So, Mongo, Raven, Couchbase, Couch, and a whole multitude of other NoSQL options, Cosmos DB, which it kind of blurs the lines a little bit now for Microsoft. They are use cases. I use Mongo in Liquid Sky. Mongo is used for certain things. I use Mongo for where I don't need a relationship, where I just need data, and I need it by ID. It's very useful. If you're doing any sort of relational data, like in-depth relational data, SQL Server is still your better option. If you're just storing objects and or small object trees, then not necessarily that small, but I wouldn't go too personally. Personally, I wouldn't go too deep. Then Mongo and NoSQL DBs can be helpful as well. SQLize. I don't think I've. Is that a NoSQL DB? What is SQLize? Feature-rich ORM for modern. Oh, okay. TypeScript and Node, ORM, Oracle, Postgre, MySQL, MariaDB, SQLite, and SQL Server. Right. It's an ORM. So an ORM wraps around, yeah. SQLite. Sorry, yes. SQLite. Thank you, Well-known. Yes. SQLite is an option for you because it's a local file-based database. It's still SQL. It's not fully SQL 92 compatible, but it is a lot of the way there. Yeah. SQL database, you have to do a lot of work making the tables and relations between them. It's a very annoying process. Mongo is simple to set up, but you have to do every validation yourself. Uh, I mean, data design should be like it should be something you consider all the time anyway. Like it's not whether it's tables and relations or objects, etc. Um, you should be considering how things relate. Even if you're storing them in Mongo, how do if I'm storing three different things, there is a cost to that. You are not meant. Well, you cannot join. I don't think in Mongo objects together. So your design has to be a little bit more deliberate in that path. But the user does a database delete everything belonging to the user. Or do you do that yourself in code? I do that myself in code. I do not do cascading deletes. I've seen what happens when people put foreign keys and cascading deletes in databases. I've seen DBAs remove them as well because they don't like them either. Forums are nice, but can be missing features the underlying language could do. I wouldn't want to write. I wouldn't want to replace entity framework with straight up SQL connections. I'm thinking too. You're not. You're fine. Autism. There's a lot more experience around, so it's just yeah. If you go into the Discord and you have specific questions, if you want to drop links in there to questions, you are more than welcome to slow down the conversation to what you need answered. Right, I'm happy for you to go in there and say stuff. So and ask questions, etc. And I personally will try to do my best to help. But others will likely contribute. I just know that what foreign keys are. That's about it. Yeah. 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 What Stoney said. The point is to get smarter. Don't be afraid to feel dumb. The fact that you're asking questions makes you smart. Yeah. Wanting to learn is a great asset. Okay, so let's go over here. So that solves problem one. Let's get that committed. Include namespace of command as well as by validation you mean manually do everything. When in SQL you can just do a query. So in SQL, so validation such as constraint checks, things like can I delete this because it's associated to something else. So when you're using foreign keys and constraints like that, you can prevent data deletion. Different schools of thought. I'm more I will control things and it's up to me to be trustworthy. And if I leave a mess, it's up to me to clean it up sort of path, because I've got in a mess with constraints on more than one occasion over the past while. Again, design. Your data design changes. What are you trying to track? The use case. You've got to look at the use case. You can't just say, I'll use Mongo because it's easier. You can do everything you need to do in SQL Server. With Postgre, you can actually store objects. So you can actually treat it like a NoSQL database if you need to. That is one of the advantages Postgre has over MySQL. Yeah. So, yeah. But, are you storing a very complicated structure? Are you storing hundreds of thousands of records? Are you storing one record? Are you storing, you don't know what you're storing yet, right? So SQLite might be a good way to get into it because it's a file-based DB that you can run locally and experiment with and then figure out the rest later. Like I said, Stony here does more with SQLite than I have ever seen anybody do with it. For good or bad, I don't know what that is, but yeah, Stony definitely proves that you can do a lot with just SQLite. So if you're storing a couple of pieces of data, SQLite would be perfect. And then when you push it to the cloud, you can figure out what that means. But work with what you know now. Don't try and like prototype out what you need locally and start from there. Yeah, makes sense. Mr. Anhorn, thank you very much for 71 months. That's incredible. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. You just store the objects that you store. They don't have a type that you serialize them into the database. So it doesn't have the concept of a type. It has the concept of an ID. So you can search for things. It's indexed that way. Yeah. It is a very long time. That is crazy that we've been doing this for that long. Undeclared. Hello. How you doing? Yeah. Yep. I mean streaming. If being that if I'm getting paid for it, it's a job. Streaming is the yeah, it's the second longest job I've had. Yeah. No, I do appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so we got that committed. So we got the generator working. So the generator now includes the namespace of the notification. Why these were working before for the testing, I don't know. They shouldn't have worked. There you go. These should not have worked because they didn't include this namespace of this notification. So I don't know why these were working as a test. I suppose I should do that, right? Before I do anything else. You learn nothing, man. So this is starting up test containers. Priceless. Oh yeah, it's starting up a test container for Mongo and a test container for SQL Server, and it's running those tests against them. Yeah. Yeah, man. So yeah, VOD to me, see, I'm using SQL Server and Mongo to store this. So if you look at the actual data this is storing, actually, I didn't dawn on me that I'm actually using SQL Server and Mongo in here. So I've got a Mongo and a SQL Server persistence, right? They're actually storing this object. And both of them store it. In here, I have migrations to create the tables. So what this does is it says, hey, define this table called Sagas, and here's what it looks like. In Mongo, I don't need to do that, right? So in Mongo, I just say save it, and it saves to an object, and I just define the collection name that it saves to, right? So I say save to the collection Sagas, and this is how you've got a primary key, and you're done, right? So it works. Over here, I say, oh, you map to the Sagas table. In the Sagas, that's actually the Sagas schema. So I'm actually trying to split these out from the actual regular database. So, all this I did, this is generated. This is generated by the tooling. So when I need to update this, I can click here, Entity Framework, Add Migration, and create a migration, and it tools it out for me in Rider. It's actually a CLI tool underneath, but Rider has a nice UI on top of it, so I like buttons. Buttons are good. Typing bad. Or unnecessary typing bad. But yeah, they're similar libraries. But they both say they're both capable of saving the same thing. The purpose is, if I'm using my Sagas in one of my systems that has Mongo, there's no point pulling SQL Server into that. And if I'm using SQL Server, there's no point pulling Mongo. So I get the choice of how I persist them. So I've learned about databases in Unit, and they were teaching about ER diagrams in the beginning of my coursework. Is that used in the real world? Yeah, ER diagrams are useful. I'm not very good at ER diagrams. I don't think I actually have any of this. Here you go. Let's open Liquid Sky. Tenant management. Navigation. Where are you? Diagrams. Show diagram. There you go. So because I don't use foreign keys, it's Claude. Because I don't use foreign keys, this can't infer. Whoa, where are you going? This can't infer the relationships, right? Because I'm not using foreign keys. So that's one downside to not doing that. I don't like using foreign keys because it creates problems when you go to delete things. I am happy to be responsible for the cleanup of things. But yeah, this would create an ER diagram of those things. So yeah, diagrams are useful. Yeah. You can actually, I think you can do the almost identical thing inside of Liquid Sky anyway, because it has the relationships between the objects. But yeah. So at the beginning of a project, we make an ER diagram. You could. The downfall to making an ER diagram before you start a project is that you have to be willing to change it as you develop the code. You shouldn't be just following a diagram verbatim, right? You shouldn't just be saying, yeah, because we wrote it down here, that must be the case. I should have made ER diagrams for data in my project. It's never too late. You can still do it. It's just time and energy. If you build all the ER diagrams to too deeper state before the project, it's your responsibility to update them as you change them in the project. As, oh, that relationship doesn't work actually when we see it in the code. It doesn't do this. You should maintain the documentation. So it's why ER diagrams after the fact are potentially more useful, because they are telling the state as it is. But that's the same for any documentation. All documentation ages. How badly is the challenge? Okay. So this is where my design is. This is the part that this is by the stream tiles, learning what I don't know to learn what I need to know. Sometimes you have to do something, and by doing something, it opens your eyes to the holes. Right? You can't know everything up front, and it kind of actually carries on to this conversation. Right? You can't know everything ahead of time. You can be close, or you could spend 6 months planning something to the finest of details. But the moment you write some code, the moment you actually try to put something down, the more you're going to realize, oh, that use case actually isn't a thing. We overthought that. So it's why no planning is bad, but too much planning is bad. So you've got to find the balance. And what I like to do and what I didn't do with this is I didn't do this. I didn't go and try and create a saga or what I wanted to do first to identify what fit, right? So the problem I have here now, I rewrote multiple times because something required a whole different way of doing it. Yeah. And that's an important thing, that you're willing to do that, because for the good of the code, pulling it out and starting again sometimes is necessary. Sometimes it makes you faster. Sometimes it gets you even a stronger understanding of what's there. So if you write code and then you don't want to change it, even if you know it's not perfect, yeah, this is too complex. Relax, you're fine. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Exactly. Morning trap. Again, Vortism. If you want to use a Discord, if you want to bounce ideas off, you can create a thread if you want to. If you want to go through and, like, even if it's just writing down what you want to do, you're more than welcome to do it. I can't guarantee synchronous responses, but I will at least attempt to assist there. The stream is not. I'm not going to be able to be much help because I'm trying to do my own thing as well. But don't stress. Bit by bit, you can do it. Or drop it. Yeah, if you're comfortable talking, we do drop into. So I tend to drop into the office if I'm talking about. Definitely talking about code, and the lounge if it can be anything else. That's kind of the general pattern. The lounge isn't the office and discussion has limits on the number. The lounge doesn't. So yeah. So like I said, normally what I would do, and I should have done this more in depth, is I would try and write out how I was going to use this thing. To kind of see where it fell down, right? And I didn't do that because I'd already written some of this stuff, so I assumed I'd done that part. I clearly didn't, right? Nest, hello, how you doing? So now I need to figure out how I actually want to use these things. I still think they're useful. I still think they do what I need them to, they would achieve what I need. So again, the problem is this event. This saga is necessary if I do not have the information. Semi. This is a saga inside of Mediator. This is my own library to do this. to coordinate events that are going to come from different endpoints. So if the change appeared first, and the reason I keep going back over this is because what I want to do is validate that I've not made a design problem earlier, that maybe I can solve my need for this with another. I keep making sure that I'm testing to the best of my knowledge that I need what I need, because I've been in that situation too many times where it's been I've gone down a path, I've done a thing, and then realized, oh, I made a fundamental error here, and it negates all this stuff. And I'm willing to replace stuff. I'm willing to rip it all out if it's the way. So I just need to know what I don't know, right? So maybe there's a path, a pattern, a design, something that I'm missing in my tool belt that means that I think this is necessary, right? But either way, the reason I'm doing mediated sagas is I have Kafka produces this change, this difference, right? So when things happen in my system, it goes and calculates the difference on the object, and it publishes an event to Kafka of a change detail. And two services pick that up. One goes off and figures out how to enrich that data so that it can give more context to it. So anyone who just wants to consume the changes, and I'm sorry for the light right across my face, anyone who just wants to consume those changes with the right details can do so. And also I have a notification system that says, hey, if this field changes, you need to tell this person that it changed, right? So these two events can come in here, and ignore the box. But I may receive the request to do the notification before I've got enough data to make the notification. So if I receive this notification of this request to notify before I have the detail, I need this to wait. And when this does happen, now kick off the rest of the process, right? And that's why I'm looking at sagas, because this could be long running as well. So there could be many. I mean, I'll work on the actual details later. The point, the green and the blue box represent, these are two different services that are running. Receiving this event and receiving this event are asynchronous. So wait, this is aggregate intermediate saga, or just an aggregator. Aggregator, intermediate saga, or aggregator. Very sure I'm following. So they are orchestrated by their end sources to one thing. Yeah. So sorry, not using the right terminology. Many events can result in the ultimate goal is to create a notification. In this situation, it's in more real time, where this is an event from service bus. This is an actual command coming from service bus, tells me, hey, notify this person. But if I don't have this detail yet, I need to wait for that detail to occur. So I need to collate them on that ID, on that change ID, and then fire off. Aggregators don't use saga pattern, diff pattern. Saga is for rollback. Saga is not for... One last question. It's a bit unrelated. I've heard people say get familiar with using Git, but apart from branches, pushing, committing, what else is there to learn? Until you work in a team, just be comfortable being able to branch and commit often and get your workflow down. Practice it. I wouldn't overstress. Recently had a discussion on that in terms of yeah, in terms of I'm now my brain's split. In terms of teams, until you work with the team and you actually see the problems they have, then yeah, you're not going to see some of the problems that appear in Git. Other people are normally the problem with Git. I mean, Saga isn't just you've got the audit log, I guess, for dependencies, and you keep hitting till all dependents satisfied. Proper rebasing, rewriting history for local commits, proper commit size, check. Again, you're not, morning Kenny or hello Kenny. You're not going to hit that until you work with the team for the most part. If you're rewriting your own history, yeah, that's a personal choice on your repo. I can say I've done that 0 times on my own repos. Maybe I have a terrible repo. So yeah, what I'm trying to figure out is how this works. So ignore the internals of this are kind of the first draft. I don't believe this is the way now. Ultimately, whether I call them sagas or I call them whatever I call them, I need to coordinate the fact that 2 events can occur in this one notification. A single change will trigger the notification and should be immediately sent to the user. Hey, by the way, this field changed. You asked to be notified about it, right? If it's a user assignment, if it's a status change, if it's whatever, you ask to be notified, right? So if this notification request appears before the actual change details appeared, then this, and again, this is running in a different service. These are not in the same exact service. They're in the same application, the same context, same module overall, right? They are happening asynchronously. So if I do not have this information when I receive this event, I basically need to wait is the thing. So that's fine. Going beyond that, I could have, hey, send me a weekly email, which means that these notifications stack up and these details stack up. So that's more, hey, this is going to trigger at midnight on Saturday. Is this relevant to something you need? Yep. Okay, it is. Right. It is something you care about. So again, the same design, but the hey, you need to notify is not the same as when you need to notify and how you notify. So the communications and notification systems are built out differently. Thank you, everyone. I always feel I'm too late for dev. Should have done all this in my freshman and sophomore years. No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. People learn dev at all sorts of different times. People pick it up. It's just a case of being patient with yourself. Don't hold yourself to another standard. It's not healthy to do that, right? If you look at the stuff I'm doing this with a lot of knowledge. Nest is giving me some things to think about here, right? So I don't know everything. I've got to get my brain around other ways. And so again, this is the downside for me. Ness is giving me terms that I don't commonly use because I've never gone off and studied the patterns. I work in a different way, right? If you're doing scatter, gather, aggregator, there are 3 aggregator patterns. Is that a fair resource? Branch aggregation. Use case branch aggregation. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Yeah, scatter. Looks about right. Scatter gather. It refers to it. Scatter gather pattern. When a tenant in parallel aggregation requests are sent to necessary services parallelly, then the responses are aggregated and responses sent back to the consumer. When the attendance service invoked, parallel calls are sent to personnel information and leave information, get responses, aggregate them, and send them to the attendance service. Yeah. So that's actually a design I do not want to. The aggregator service will orchestrate calls to the 3 microservices and return a combined response. Yeah. I tend to cheat. I say kind of what I want to do, and it gives me the best pattern of lives. So the one thing I did not want to do. So these are both consumers. Okay, receivers and consumers are both consumer types. The reason the receivers is because it's Kafka. Consumers are mass transit service bus. My general design is that I do not want to use Kafka for command and eventing as a service bus. So Kafka is my data distribution. It's, hey, data's available to you. You can use whatever you want, right? It's not got a purpose. It's not got a target. It's just data. Service bus I use for, hey, you need to do something. Yeah, I looked. I was looking. It's funny, what are we talking about? Let's see. Do you not have that one? I thought I saw this one somewhere else. The one site I found is basically the aggregator pattern. The others, there are multiple aggregator patterns. Um, Interesting how you get different yeah. But no, I did read through the others. The others, yeah, definitely. The service chaining and the branch aggregation. Yeah. But either way, the one thing that doesn't achieve is and apologies, one line is giving shout outs to people, and I'm not using my voice enough. So if you are interested in game dev, Apex streams a few times a week. He's been building his kind of framework for a game, and it's starting to come together. He's getting the pieces in there. He uses a lot of AI tooling to help through his path, and he's a big proponent for those things. So if you like game dev and discussions on AI tooling, etc., Apex is definitely worth checking out. And Stony does things. Stony races and loses. Although actually, I didn't win everything yesterday, did I? So I should shut that up. No, Stony is a .NET developer. Builds an app called No Mercy. Um, it is No Mercy TV. It is a media server app that he's been building for a while now, and it looks amazing. It's for being able to own your own content and pull all your own content into a Netflix like library. Yeah, I highly recommend checking out your streams. It's a good place to go and hang out. It's nice and chill. Nothing too heavy. Yeah, you actually did win some races yesterday, so I suppose I should be careful what I say there. .NET Vue and PHP. No project's perfect. It's fine. And Canny Dev. Canny is a game developer extraordinaire. Has recently been learning Unreal, which has been fascinating to watch a little bit of. Has built a library for Twitch in Godot called Twitcher, which gives you a whole lot of tools to be able to integrate Twitch into Godot's, so you can build overlays and stuff and interact with Twitch events, etc. So highly recommend checking that out. Standard pattern for this is to use an ODS and just update each time. ODS, 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 ODS. Acronym. It's not an open document spreadsheet. Acronym not coming to mind. It's Unified DB of use. Rumbling Geek, good afternoon. Operational data store. Yeah. This feels like so you publish 2 messages with partial updates. Value ODS. Not to be that guy, but nothing is standard pattern in programming. I'm trying. I'm genuinely. I'm again, like I said, I'm doing what I know. I'm doing what feels right to head towards as far as a pattern that I know I can maintain. That being said, again, the title of the stream is what do I need to learn? Is this the right way? I want to question that. And by the right way, as we pretty much all know, there is no perfect right way. However, there are some things that work because they've been established, right? So I don't want to dismiss. I want to learn, and I don't want to. Um, yeah, this is not the point to use AI because this point is I don't know what I don't know, and if I just follow um, um, what AI is going to give me based upon some ramblings, I'm not going to do any better off. So again, the purpose is I learned ODS for a Snowflake job. Yeah. The purpose is so again, that's one thing you'll realize with me is I don't do very well at the how do I put it? The more academic aspect of software because I am a you know I didn't go to school and I didn't study a lot of books to do what I do. I do it through just purely what I pick up along the way and what I learn. So sometimes I'm lacking in the actual terminology, but understand it when I see it, especially in code. It makes a lot more sense when I think in code. So I appreciate the help. Just I just know I just have to know the terms for the jobs. Yeah. And I've got by without ever needing to do that. So it's it's not that I can't comprehend it or understand it. It's that it will potentially take me a little longer to understand based upon words alone. I have to go off and see patterns and I have to see code, just the way I work. But I appreciate the effort and I appreciate the input. So I am paying attention. I am trying to learn at the same time. But the question comes for me, right? How does that fit into my design? What is the best way to fit? The Saga still does what I need to do. The reason I paused was as I've said, provide Saga create. Is it that I don't want to double up. I don't want to duplicate code, and that's my concern right now. This second. So let me go over here. Right. Let me create a what is the command? Subscribers, processing changes. We gotta reorganize this. Process point item change. Notify user of change. Consumers. Notify user of change. Consumer. Right. So we go here. iConsumer. Can you do a counter like task accumulator on Redis or something? But it's not just about a counter. It's about having all the information I need to make a decision, right? What I'm thinking through at the second is I don't want to do duplicate code, but in the same, I need to be able to defer to something else. So I've got two options. I either start a Saga, Yeah. To so this would be the receipt of this message. So the context dot message dot, right. So this is going to contain an event. Sorry. This event identifier is going to be the correlation, right? So this is the change that triggered this event will also come in that other message, right? In this side, he says. Both of those will have the event that triggered them in there. The overall goal right now would be to store the notification request, right? Or you know, handle notification requests, whatever it is. And that would be a command back into the application, right? Over here. In there, I would have to ask, do I have change for event identifier? If I don't, then I need to wait. That's the goal. So that when this other event occurs in here, so in here, this detail change event received records a change event. When that actually does happen, this continues, or the act of notifying the user continues. If that is delayed, if that service is down, that could be an hour, that could be 2 hours, right? And again, focusing on the immediate notification request, the hey, tell me about an email when this happens. I'm not going down the path of the multi-event right this second. So what I was thinking there was in the handler, right? So again, all this is within the handler. I just don't want to create a bunch more files that are kind of useless. Within the handler, do I have a change for the event identifier? You know, if yes, send notification. Now we got everything, right? Else, right? Wait. And the only way I have of waiting right the second, based upon what I'm designing so far, is create a saga. So in that event, in that case, is it not wasteful? And what I wanted to avoid was using events as commands. Because what I could do is I could put in here, publisher, right? Hey, Isons, how you doing? Shout out to Miss Ranhorn. Doesn't get to stream very often. He's trying to correct that. Miss Ranhorn works on. He's recently been working on some stream overlay, like to say stream overlay is to undersell it vastly. He's been working on an interface for basically managing avatars and all sorts, and kind of scene directing. So I would highly recommend going and following him, and it is a quite a fascinating stream when he does stream. So hopefully I'll be able to bring more of them up. So yeah, what I don't want to do is duplicate a bunch of code. And if I send a command to handle this to publish a domain event, that's one thing. But that being said, the way that Mediate is built, They're the same thing. I label them differently because I have a library wrapping around Kafka. So a receiver is a Kafka consumer, just with some extra structure around it for me to help with me. So they are both consumers. I just do it so that I know what I'm working with. Service bus, Kafka. Yeah. Um, Scatter gather user reply counter. You were close. You need to store a build message and a counter. Yeah, we'll see. It is your exact pattern. Just your final thing needs a counter. Not sure how a counter plays into that. What I'm thinking right this second is nothing says counter equals number of consumers in scatter. You can't reply. Gotcha. But the point is the consumers and the event, the actual behavior is in the application, not in the actual consumers. This is presentation layer. This is like on the outside of things, right? This is the entry point to the application. These events that are happening trigger behavior in the application that I need to respond to, and some of the data I need. Again, if you are a subscriber, if you are subscribed to changes on this thing, you will get a notification, and that could be one user, that could be 20 users all subscribed to the same thing. So all these sagas will exist at the same time, all these processes. So my coordination method is the challenge, right? There is no individual aggregation service. It is distributed that way. So short of consuming these two into the same thing, that poses a challenge. Because they're complete, yeah. Napalm, good morning. Counter equal number of consumers in scatter. Yeah, see, one update cause then changed and you want to notify after all done. Yeah. Yeah. So in the next use case, again, sorry, again seems to be my word of the week. I apologize. In here, I want to be notified, and how I am notified are disconnected. Got my express server. Nice, Vortism. Nice. That's awesome. Progress. Well done. So I want to be notified, and how and when I'm notified are two separate concerns. So notifications is, do I care about something? Yes, I do. Tell me. Then communications, right now it's communications, I'm not sure it always will be, it'll be a component of it, is, oh, you need to know about this. Do you need to know about it now? Do you need to know about it later? When do you need to know about it? Oh, I'll tell you then, and I'll hold on to that information, right? So aggregator, absolutely, without a doubt. Aggregation. In the case where it is a time thing, right? And again, I know this is the same diagram just over here in terms of scheduled versus whatever. I may get 15 of these notifications throughout the course of a week. The data is going to be coming in all the time and out of sequence, right? And then on a trigger, this will then fire and do what it needs to do, which is why Saga feels like a right pattern here. Because this will ultimately they're just going to publish an event that says, send the user a notification now, and here's what you need to reference. right? And that it'll form the email or form the message or whatever. How do you know also so many patterns? Is it with yeah? What I know again, like this is educating me on some of the terminology around things that I probably have an idea of, or and maybe I don't, right? So you learn as you go, and that's the best way of getting better at software development is to build more software and keep refining that skill set. Not just write code for the sake of code. I'm not saying dump code out there. I'm talking about deliberate. How can I do this better? Why do I do this? What do I do with this? How do I use this to combine with this? Later on, don't worry about, like right now, write code. Write the best code you can write at this point in time. And when you see something better, write that code. And when you learn a different technique, practice that technique and understand that technique and build on that code and just keep building the skill set. There's no 0 to 1,000 miles an hour, right? It's as you're beginning writing software, all this sort of stuff just gets really confusing really fast because you don't know how to hook up this piece or this piece. Later on, you just learn how to learn more, right? So again, I'm not perfect. I'm definitely not the best developer in the world. I would like to be better. Read whose code though? How would I refine my code? AI. Look at samples. Look at even if you ask AI to generate some code or show you a sample of code, ask it to explain it to you. Ask it to go through it. Don't ask it to do complex things too soon. Build on that knowledge so that when it does do something more complicated, you actually can understand what it's doing. Write tons of code. Yep. Canning's advice. Yep. And always stand up when you struggle. Important is to stay at it and don't give up. Endurance is the key. Honestly, I think deep research and asking questions is God tier. To me, there's a lot of developers that just want to get paid to do development. They don't necessarily care about the design, the structure. They just want to write code and go home. That's perfectly fine. The fact that you're on Twitch watching a dev stream while you're doing your stuff tells me that you care a little bit more about what you're doing, right? It's not just a means to an end. Just keep wanting to learn, like do more, write more. One day, a thing that felt difficult a month ago will feel like it's just another piece of code now. You'll be fine. If you see a technique, if you see something done that you're like, wow, how's that working, right? Go off and find out. And what you'll often find is it's not as difficult as it looks. There's a lot of, right? It's just verbose. Yeah. Read code from the libraries you use to understand what's happening. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of magic is not actually magic. Agentic systems are pretty nasty. So yeah, but just write code. Things that I'm doing here felt alien 15 years ago, but now they feel natural. That you are using preferably so that you have a relation to it. Don't think that you have motivation to read random code on the internet. But yeah, mate, pretty yeah. No. Yeah, the advice there is good. If you're using some, so tell you what, I'll show you. The way I use Mediator. Those bad examples. Let's go to planning. Planning is the most complicated piece of the application. So I have a command. This class here. I have this handler here, right? it looks like magic, right? So what I did, and if there's interest in me resuming them, I will definitely do more of them. What I used to do is if I took a day off work or something, I would do a stream on there's a code challenges. There's a Discord for it. Um, it's John, not Leak Code. No, these are more here. Yes. So what I would do is I'd actually take a stream, a longer stream, and pick up one of these based upon, you know, community vote, and try and tackle it in one stream, right? And oftentimes some of these things actually do, and there's a Discord attached to it, and the assembler of these, John Cricket, super helpful guy. More than happy to kind of talk about stuff in the Discord channel and stuff. But it's like, how do you do these things? So what we would do is write some of those on stream, and I've done it over other things as well. So I have a TBD Friends repo, right? This is where I put projects that are open source, or whether, you know, like developers.stream is here. Water Drink Water, which is another project which was, you know, to help track water consumption in a day. These are .NET projects. They're very simple, but they have a few more complicated pieces in them. But I've developed Cerberus. What is Cerberus? Architecture exploration. Yeah, so we explored doing some of these things on stream. Notifications, events, etc. So Cerberus might be another like mediator style thing. So go off and build stuff. Build stuff that exists. Build simple stuff that exists. Build difficult stuff that exists. Again, Arbiter, another mediator pattern, right? We were testing with other things. Like, what does this look like? How do we register handlers? And how do we do all these things? So 100%. Programming is the most magic thing we have in this world. I mean, mages in fantasy recite some cryptic words to make something happen. Ask someone that has no technical background, they'd also say that the program code is cryptic. We just got used to all this technical magic. I would say when you ask a mage in a different world, they wouldn't see it as something special, just a thing they use like we do programming. Technology is just magic that can be explained or something like that. I'm terrible at quoting things to people. Also with LLM and voice recognition, we can do the same. Like mages, we're just saying what we want and it happens. You hope it happens in every single case. Sometimes you get a toad. Oh, I thought it was like a contest. No, it's not a contest. It's purely there to give you some really good like explorations of skills that might actually solve a problem, rather than being leak code, which leak code is very much, oh look, you've got this algorithm to solve, do this, right? And it doesn't really fit. Whereas John's site, the coding challenges, say, hey, create a parser, create a tool, create an email provider, whatever. It gives you some kind of understanding of the basics of the technology, and you can kind of grow into the skill set. And like I said, he has a Discord that is quite active. Yeah, when you like the contest idea, yeah, I don't do leak code, I don't do coding game, I don't do any of that because they bore me. I'm not in development to compete or to show off any sort of talent. I'm in it to write good software. So algorithms are almost never useful, hard to maintain. Just use the libs. My way there is, if I need to write an algorithm, then I now need to understand something else. So if my organization says we need to implement this, I'm like, okay, I need to go and learn it. So now I'll go and learn what I need to learn, rather than having it all in my head. You know, they can learn all kind of magic systems, like languages, even in a competitive way, a gamified approach. Yeah, and again, we each learn differently, right? For clean architecture, I was referencing these. I was looking at the different ways to do things, and yeah. I'm not going to go into that conversation right a second. Yeah, so we build stuff. That was there, right? Communications, consumers, notify user routine. But for AI knowledge storage, you need heavy math for geometric data. Yeah, if you're going to go into AI stuff, yeah, that's a. But again, you know what you go down that path, right? You'd be exploring that path. You'd know what you don't know, uh, you know what you need to learn more of as you go. So, um, yeah. Um, what I was thinking of there then. Considering the information that's out there these days, um, e- everything's available for you to learn. Whether it comes with a piece of paper that says you've studied and learned how to do that, or you just do it, it's available to you, right? There's very little that is locked behind an education system at this point that you can't do. You just got to go off and learn how to go find that information. N-dimensional encoded vectors turning data into meaningless strings of numbers. Yeah. The 64 byte number. Yeah. just to the people who understand what it is and how it's working, it's just right. To me, it's magic wizardry. I'm gonna work at it. Nah, you're fine. Just keep learning. That's the key. Just keep your passion for doing something alive. Follow projects that interest you. Build software that you understand the whys. You know, more of that. Nobody can read it. My LMs are so hard to understand. It's part time in a rice field. That's what I tell me every time I struggle. Working on audio parsing, I now know why audio is so hard. Yeah, yeah. Um, Sometimes we do things because they're hard, because they test us and they push us. Um, and I want to do that. I want to be better at software development. I want to be better at design. I want to do all those things, and the only way I do that is if I try. And I'm currently happy with 3D modeling, but I think I'll live now in the uncanny valley. Kubernetes courses require a PhD. I learned so much. I'll forget in 3 months. But you'll understand if you come back to that later. You'll have a bit of a grounding, and you'll be able to pick it up again because it'll all come back, right? Or the basics will come back. You have to figure out things again. But yeah, but you push it out your brain because you can't focus on everything all the time. George, hello. How you doing? Ahoy. What controller is that? I think that's the GameCube controller. Yeah. Looks like it. I'm doing okay. The conversation today has been amazing. I've really appreciated the chance to chat. So where am I with this? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a saga immediately. If I have the other information, the saga will end immediately, but the behavior is within the saga. I do not, because otherwise I run the risk of duplicating some of this behavior. I don't want to do that. So I think what I'm going to do is nothing says a mediator saga here. Uh, da, 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 da. So I'm using notifications, but what says I can't be started by a command, right? So I'm going to do a command version of this, and I'm going to kick it off, and then if it's got the rest of the data it needs, it's just going to end itself immediately, right? And delete, and that's fine. There's never any persistence there anyway, so it's fine. But if it can't, then it will persist, and everything will be good. And I think that's the clearest way of doing that. I think we make Kubernetes hard. I'm the only manager of Kubernetes, and I've not seen all these horror stories everybody says about it. Bro, can you explain how Kong integrated into service mesh with routing from control to data plane with auto load balancing? How external? What? um. I'm used from Kong support portal. Kong is, what is Kong? Now I'm like, hold on. API platform. The unified API platform. Oh, okay. Blah. One tiny thing in Kubernetes. Hi, Finiflix. How you doing? Welcome in. Okay, so it is the same company. Okay. Right. Funny, we just use Dapper and not had any issues with our service mesh or PubSub or state management. Integrating in physical into Kubernetes with sync across pods across clusters. Yeah. See, autism, these guys are talking about a lot of stuff that I just don't do. Kubernetes is something I've learned on the side as I need. And I pick these up, but I don't do a lot of what they're doing. So to me, some of this is like, okay, I don't care. I don't need to know. Yeah. Why just throw Dapper at your cluster and have it do it all only as hard as you make it. But learning that skill set, building that up, and doing that is you know, it's why I feel that working with people like you guys, right, is good. I seek that out, right? I seek learning through working with people who do know how to do those things, so I can pick up what I need to know. And again, a true good team has a balanced skill set. No one knows everything, right? I've seen people who can do certain things and say they develop software, but the software they develop is not as clean and as organized as it should be because their focus is over here. But I can do the development piece and they can do that piece. We can combine and bring both people up, right? That's the kind of path I like to head down, is is necessary. So it is very interesting though. No idea about Kubernetes. So again, like Kubernetes, right now, Project Liquid Sky is hosted on a little box back there with Kubernetes installed on it. All the stuff is there. That's kind of just, I've learned what I needed to learn to get that done. Is it perfect? No. Is it secure? Probably not. But I can learn lessons. I have 3 Pulumi stacks that manage our cluster database secret store backups. Nice. Something enterprises. I got 20 pages for monitoring. So far, I only had to really understand how resource usage works on Kubernetes because our authentication sidecar kept getting throttled. If you want to blow up your VC funding, just spin up an auto-scale Kubernetes and load test it. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have tracing metrics on logging with trace IDs, env IDs, and user IDs and logs? Do I? Not yet. Yeah, as I say, Mr. Anhorn. Yeah, likely. Again, I want to do a pass of this so I can understand some of those things and learn those lessons, right? Liquid Sky is at a point where I can actually apply some of the stuff because it is getting to a point where it is at a scale that I can learn some of those lessons for real. Okay, maybe not, I don't learn how to necessarily support this distributed system to tens of thousands of users, but I do know how to trace a request through the system. I do know how to debug a request, and that's kind of why I'm comfortable with it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the path of introducing a third type of started by that is not started by notification, it's started by a command, right? So we can kick off a Saga through command. That way, in here, all I will do is this will become an iSender, and this will say send notification to user, and that will handle that piece. Because then I'm not storing the notification request unless I need to. No, not commands on Kafka. I'm not using commands on Kafka. That's why I'm using Service Bus. This is a command from my system through Service Bus that says send a notification to the user. This is Mediator. Over here, this is, oh, by the way, I got some change details. So that's why it's a receiver here and not like, yeah. I'm not, that's why I have Service Bus and Kafka in the same project, because I do not want to use Kafka as a Service Bus. Kafka is, for me, about data distribution. Using the Grafana software package is pretty easy to set up, I think. We have browser to database observability. It's pretty cool to follow a front-end session from open replay to database calls. Maybe, like, for you or whoever, you know, is kind of more expert in that, maybe one day I can sit down in a private chat, go through some things, explain some use cases and kind of brainstorm a little bit, and then maybe do a stream on implementing that. Those pieces from a tracing and observability. I know Melanoth, if you like distributed stuff, Melanoth, that's right, isn't it? Second guessing myself. Melanoth, yeah. Melanoth is he's built a framework to basically say to spool up a distributed system using Ruby on Rails. Kind of like Aspire without Aspire, and it creates all the relevant components, and he's been building that out on stream, and he's got, you know, millions of users going through it, etc., like being created and events and stuff happening throughout the system. So if you like distributed stuff, I would highly recommend checking out Melanoth. It's also a nice chill stream to go and hang out in as well. So yeah, what the intent, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it receive a command rather than notifications, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to use mediator notifications to hack in that behavior. I could, you know, say I am started by, right? I am started by notification received, right? Notification request received, and then I have to go and produce that domain event in there for that to happen. Well, no, I'm going to be, I am started by, you know, notify user. And that will kick this off. And if it's got all the information, it will just notify, it'll complete and notify. but otherwise it will handle a change received for the same thing. So we'll figure that out. Because we have the orchestrating identifier, which will allow us to manage that. So yeah, that's I think the path I'm going to go for now. That makes the most sense to me. That's not what I don't want to do is just use this library because I've created it, but it makes sense to me and will allow me to maintain things. And later on, if another pattern appears, I change it. Right? That's my entire thing. I do not want to just do things because I want to do things because they're right. Okay. So let us go. We were going to raid full bots last week. I don't get to hang out much with full bots these days, but Mars, good morning. This week is a full week of streams. I will be streaming every day. Again, if you are interested in continuing conversations off stream, the Discord is always open. I do drop in there normally in the evenings into the voice chat. Anyone's more than welcome to come and hang out and talk. I can't guarantee that it will always be the most fascinating conversation. It could be just random stuff, but it could be about software. Likely is. But yeah. So anyway, let us go raid over to Fullbots. Fullbots is building more games. Fullbots is currently looking at Kenny's cursed picture. Yeah, we will. I'll be back tomorrow for more of this. If I can, I will work more on this this evening. But if not, have a great rest of your day. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks all.